Hey, Chris Liepe here with guest Marc Martel. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And we're talking about how you sing lots of really challenging songs and are able to sing them all the way through and really well.
Yep.
And you don't get tired.
Right.
I worked like in my bones at the end. I take on my heart away. All of my own. My knees and I start to pray till the tears run down from my eyes. Lord, somebody
If we want to go even deeper with you, particularly on these topics,
Right.
what should we do?
Often starts with a good vocal warm-up, which you can get. It's called Marc Martel's vocal warm-up so that your voice doesn't bite the dust.
And you can join
Rolls
that
off the
free
tongue.
course by clicking the link below. Okay, so how do you last a long time singing?
Even before a vocal warm-up, for me, it's so important for me to be in shape, to make sure that I'm getting enough cardio and core. Cardio and core is the main thing that I focus on when I'm working out. I try to work out 3 to 4 times a week if I can. And it's just a lot of, I don't know, what was it called? Light hit training? What did you call it?
Interval training?
Interval training.
Circuit training?
Circuit training. Go for a run every now and then, because to sing difficult songs, your body needs that energy to pull from. That's just something that I hold as even more important, honestly, than a good vocal warm-up.
Is that consistency and being in tune with your body
Yeah.
and being consistently in shape.
Especially when I'm performing the music of Queen, it's so physical. You can't just stand in one place behind a microphone when you're singing that kind of music. And so I need to know that my body can do what it needs to do on stage.
And you mentioned earlier that you're not a big fan of like weight training as much as you are consistent, moderate level cardio stuff. What?
I do some weight training. I do light weight training. My goal is not to get big muscles, but just to stay lean and to have good cardio capacity, lots of breath in my lungs when I need it for big long notes, and to make sure that my legs can carry me in various positions, and I'm up and down, and I'm often even running on stage, and running and singing, as you know, is no easy task.
Yeah, you're training for a sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very physical. It's very aerobic and athletic. One thing I look for in my training is to prepare myself for the need for sudden bursts of energy. Like sometimes I go for a run and I'll do like a run walk thing, like where I walk for a minute and then I'll sprint for a minute, because that is essentially what it's like to be on stage. You're not going hard the whole time. You do a slow song and then you do a fast song, and you need to be able to have those momentary bursts of energy to meet the song where it takes you.
So examining your overall cardio health, muscular health, and being able to tap into that kind of training and use it on stage, that's a big thing for you.
Yeah.
What about in the actual performance, in how you plan out your lines, your songs, your vocal energy?
Yeah.
Because that's a finite resource with every song or every
Absolutely.
show.
Especially on stage. In the studio is a different story. You can punch in, you can cut, you can
Take breaks.
absolutely, as long as you want day-long breaks if
Right.
you want. But on stage, you really got to pick your moments and really analyze the songs that you're singing and pick the moments that even in if people know a recording of a song that is super intense the whole way through, when you're performing it live, you probably don't need to be intense all the way through. And there's certain, maybe a couple special wow moments where you know that people are going to be waiting for you to hit that one the way that they know it. And so you pick your moments. You call it
Vocal budgeting.
vocal budgeting. There you go. The prime example for me is actually Tony Bennett. I got to see Tony Bennett a couple years ago. And the guy is, almost every song, the formula seems to be kind of keep it at 30 to 60% for most of the song. And then right near the end, the last chorus, he goes for broke. And it's just an exaggerated example of what I mean when it's your vocal, you're budgeting that vocal. You don't need to be going for broke for the whole song.
But you don't often have that luxury when you're singing Freddie songs all the way through. I mean, singing a Tony Bennett song,
Right.
he builds that in.
Yeah.
how do you do that in the midst of having to sing
Of
something
a song that
is...
does have notes all the way through.
Right.
Thankfully, there are many, in my particular case, there are many recordings and videos floating around of Freddie Mercury changing the melodies to his voice. And occasionally I'll dip into a lower on a note that is recorded originally higher, but still make that note sing.
Part of the character.
Exactly.
And so you're building in moments throughout a song and even throughout a set where you can sort of catch your breath in the middle of the song.
Yeah.
So that you can save up for that one money note or couple money notes within the song.
Right.
And so modifying that melody, maybe even going up into head voice for a minute when you would, in the recording, normally peg it in a massive chest voice thing.
Yeah.
You're making those decisions, but surrounding it with these big, glorious moments so the audience really doesn't notice. Also because you're so involved.
That's right.
In what you're doing, it's part of the show.
Exactly. The people are as much looking at what you're doing with your body than what they're hearing from your voice. And I'll give you a specific example in the song Radio Gaga. I believe it's the pre-chorus. You had your time, you had the power, you've yet to have your finest hour. Now, I think that happens 3 times in the song, if I'm not mistaken. And I will usually give them that range of that passage at least once in the song. And most of the time, at least one of them I'll do lower. I'll do, you had your time, you had the power, you've yet to have. So that gives me a good 5 to 10 seconds of a vocal break instead of tiring myself out even more. Mm-hmm. And if I'm feeling extra tired that day, I'll do 2 of them at the lower pitch. So you can still have fun with a note that people are expecting to be higher, but make it interesting lower.
So it really boils down to listening to your body in the moment and almost being, your mind is one step ahead of your physical voice. Mm-hmm. So if you're feeling like, okay, in the context of what's coming, you can really, spend your energy on that note. Maybe you will, but it's learning that balance. And that's what gets you through these songs and sets.
And personally, I don't like changing the melody. I want to be as close to what people want to hear as possible because I'm a people pleaser, I guess. And I remember the first time that Brian May came to one of our shows. After the show, he said, he's like, wow, you really went for all those high notes, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I don't like to give people less than I think that they want from me. But it's nice to build in those little escape routes inside of a song.
So how often do you get done with a performance like that and go, maybe I pushed myself a little too much, I hope I can get through? I mean, does that ever...
It happens, yeah, especially in a string of shows. Usually if it's 1 or 2 shows back to back, I'm at the point now where I've done the music enough where I know that I can do it pretty much as hard as I want and still be okay if I know I've got a break after the second show.
And that's vocal training.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You build up to that. That just comes with a lot of singing.
The very last thing that this is something that you've been doing more recently, managing your airflow better. Like this is the thing that has helped you work up to that ability to really go what looks like all out, but it's not really all out.
Right. Over the last year and a half, I've really figured out how to use compression to my advantage and not tiring myself so much. I'm straining less. I've still got grit and rasp in my voice.
So you're balancing the air, and with the use of compression, you actually appear and even sound more intense.
That's the thing.
But you're actually using less air. You're using more pressure.
Yeah. I'm conserving my energy, but still managing to get a more pleasing, raspy, less kind of annoying sort of rasp out.
And it's actually in the work that we've done this week, your voice when you're really doing that is actually quieter. So you can see it's like you're conserving, yet you also sound more pleasingly aggressive. Yeah. It's a really neat. Give us an example, even just like one note of how, going all out on a note versus
Yeah.
using subtle compression
Right.
and then using a little bit more compression to get that rasp.
Somebody to love.
And I think before I learned how to do that way, it was more like,
Somebody to love.
now that's an exaggeration, but it was
Yeah.
more towards that.
But you can see that you're like blowing
Yeah.
more air, and you can see tension in your face.
Yeah.
Like you look more pained
Yeah.
instead of free.
Absolutely.
You're still holding back air. You're still compressing on that first one
Yeah.
really well, but it's a cleaner, higher placed
Right.
compression. It's more pure sounding, and honestly, it comes across as more energetic because of your countenance,
Yeah.
and because your voice sounds more agile.
I look more relaxed, and it's small adjustments really. Like those two things I gave you. That was the second one was definitely an exaggeration. I didn't sing quite like that.
Sure.
But just figuring out how to just make a little adjustment in where I place my rasp has helped a huge ton for me.
Awesome. And we talk a lot more about that in your journey with
Yeah.
that in our course that we've done together. If you want to go even deeper with Marc, click that link below. It all starts with how you warm up.
Yeah.
Join his free warm-up course. What's it called again?
Marc Martel's vocal warm up so that your voice doesn't bite the dust. I almost got it.
Awesome. We'll see you for more.